Apostasy.
The apostasy laws.
Apostasy.
This isn't part of our religion. There's a reason to it. Yeah? There's a reason why there's a capital punishment. Because people like you, little weaklings, who leave their religion and cause corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt. And we're proud of that. Yeah? Under an emir, it is done. Yes. And we, you know what? We'll be watching. We'll be watching.
There shall be no compulsion in religion. The right way is now distinct from the wrong way. Anyone who denounces the devil and believes in God has grasped the strongest bond, one that never breaks. God is hearer, omniscient. Say, O you disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship, nor do you worship what I worship, nor will I ever worship what you worship, nor will you ever worship what I worship. To you is your religion, and to me is my religion. Apostasy is the abandonment or renunciation of a religious or political belief. In traditional Islam, apostasizing from the faith warrants execution. In a hadith narrated by ʿIkrima on the authority of Ibn Abbas, the Prophet allegedly is quoted saying, "Whoever changes his religion, kill him." This is an odd narration, considering the events that took place during the Prophet's life and his reluctance to deal with apostates, and the events that took place during Abu Bakr's life when he allowed apostates to live during the Ridda Wars. In order to understand these narrations, we need to understand the Ridda Wars.
أمير المؤمنين إنهم يتركون الإسلام ماذا نفعل؟
لقد مات النبي
ثم مات ديني معه.
لن ننتصر في هذه الحرب، يجب أن نتراجع.
ليس قائدا لي أيها الإخوة، لا تعطوه ولاءكم.
جحفل أبو بكر قادم، فلتشحذوا سيوفكم.
After the death of the Prophet, controversy arose in the details of who would succeed him. A very special controversy took place, and that was between the early companions of the Prophet and the Medinan followers.
نحن معشر الأنصار نختار سعد بن عبادة خليفة لنا على النبي.
Word reached Umar and Abu Bakr of the election of Sa'd. They disagreed with this appointment, so Umar told Abu Bakr to give a speech on his behalf. Ali, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet, was preoccupied washing the Prophet's body for burial, so he wasn't involved with the affair. Abu Bakr approached the answer and tells them,
للصحابة الكرام من الأنصار فضلكم في الدين والسبق العظيم في الإسلام لا ينكر، فرضي الله بكم أنصارا لدينه ورسوله، جعل هجرته إليكم وعامة أزواجه وأصحابه منكم، وليس منا بعد المهاجرين الأولين أحد في منزلتكم. نحن المهاجرون السابقون وأنتم الأنصار الأعوان. لا تقضى الأمور بغير مشورة ولا نبتها دونكم.
After Abu Bakr gave his speech, the people of Medina argued amongst themselves. Some of them claimed the early companions should have their own leader, and the people of Medina could have Sa'd as their leader. Ultimately, Umar pushed for Abu Bakr to declare leadership for himself, so Abu Bakr outstretched himself until people started giving him their pledge of allegiance. Sa'd was not happy with this arrangement. In retaliation, he refused to engage with Abu Bakr or with those that pledged allegiance to him. Many gathered from all over to pledge themselves to Abu Bakr as the new emir. As this was going on, Abu Bakr had received notice that people were defecting from the religion. News of the Prophet's death spread like wildfire, causing people to rethink their religious beliefs.
أمير المؤمنين إنهم يتركون الإسلام ماذا نفعل؟
علينا أن نجمع الجيش لنرى ما هي خطواتنا التالية إن شاء الله.
Abu Bakr was stressed. People were leaving the faith, refusing to pay the obligatory zakat, and false prophets were popping up all over the peninsula. As soon as his reinforcements arrived, he had sent letters to the tribes that had apostatized and told them to rejoin them. These tribes received these letters, but many chose to reject and accept. This was when Abu Bakr selected his generals and went to reconquer these territories.
جحفل أبو بكر قادم فلتشحذوا سيوفكم.
لن ننتصر في هذه الحرب، يجب أن نتراجع. أيها الإخوة، تراجعوا، جيش أبو بكر قريب من الخلف.
عد إلى الأمير، فقد مضى النبي ولم يمض دين الله.
لقد مات النبي ثم مات ديني معه.
The generals had reported back to Abu Bakr with mixed results. Some of the regions that had left Islam had agreed to come back, while others were adamant on remaining apostates. The war had continued on for some time, but eventually the regions had submitted to the rule of Abu Bakr. The companions of the Prophet continued to preach the message and teach the Quran to their students. One companion in particular was named Ibn Abbas. He had several students, but one of the individuals we will focus on is the man ʿIkrima. Earlier we read a narration from ʿIkrima that he allegedly received from Ibn Abbas, who received them from the Prophet. The Hadith read, "Whoever changes their religion, kill them." And there are some problems with this narration in question. The first problem is Abu Bakr's mission during the Ridda Wars. The second is the lack of attestation. The third is credibility of the narrators. And the last is contradictions with the Quran. The Ridda Wars, or Apostasy Wars, were a set of battles that took place against those that seceded from the Muslim Empire. The issue with the narration that ʿIkrima said he received from his teacher Ibn Abbas, who said he received it from the Prophet, is that if the Prophet ordered apostates to be killed, then Abu Bakr would have had to eliminate everyone that had left the religion. Instead, Abu Bakr invited them back to the religion with letters. Once they rejected, Abu Bakr sent his generals to reconquer the land. If the Prophet said to kill apostates, then Abu Bakr would have had to go to every region where apostates were, and then order their execution. Abu Bakr refused to do such a thing because the narration didn't exist at that time, which is a strong indication that this narration had to have occurred after the Ridda Wars. The second issue that needs to be examined is the lack of attestation in regards to this narration. Ibn Abbas had prominent hadith transmitters as students of his. This list includes ʿIkrima, Mujahid, Sayyid ibn Jubair, Tawus ibn Kaysan, and Ata ibn Abi Rabah. Out of all of the students of Ibn Abbas, the only one to narrate the hadith of executing apostates from Ibn Abbas is ʿIkrima. No other student received this narration from Ibn Abbas, which is highly suspicious.
In these narrations, the student that transmits this command to kill apostates is ʿIkrima. None of the other students of Ibn Abbas show up within these chains. On the right, we see Ayub receiving this narration from ʿIkrima and massively transmitting it to others. On the left, ʿIkrima transmits it to Qatada, who spreads the narration further. Qatada claims to have received the narration from elsewhere than ʿIkrima as well, but the issue with this is that in order to draw attention away from ʿIkrima, he would need to conceal where he truly received his narration. An example of this is seen in Sunan Nasa'i 4062 and 4063. They are the same narration, but Qatada claimed to have two different sources. The reason for this is because he wanted to fabricate independent confirmation for his hadiths, which would make his isnads from Anas and Hassan to be false, and truly receiving the narration from ʿIkrima.
If ʿIkrima is the one responsible for this command, this would mean that this command lacks attestation from any of the students from Ibn Abbas. Not only that, but if we say Ibn Abbas genuinely received this narration from the Prophet, the fact that the Prophet only transmits this to Ibn Abbas when it's a matter of fiqh shows that there is highly likely to be a fabricated narration. It seems that ʿIkrima is the true person behind this narration, and it was never uttered by the Prophet nor Ibn Abbas. Now let's look to see who this character of ʿIkrima is, to see if there is any information that could allow us to see any potential motive to fabricate such a narration.
Now, according to Imam Dahabi, his book collected information on certain narrators, one of them being ʿIkrima. Bukhari didn't have much of a problem including Ikrima narrations, but his student Muslim, the author of Sahih Muslim, avoided gathering narrations from Ikrima. Imam Malik, who authored the Muwatta, the earliest hadith compilation, refused to accept hadith from Ikrima except for 1 or 2 hadiths. This is odd. There seems to be skepticism between Imam Malik, the founder of the Maliki school of thought, and Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, the author of the second highest graded compilations of hadith. If these 2 individuals want to have authentic narrations within their collections, and they both are refusing to take Ikrima as a solid source, then there would have had to been something on their radar on Ikrima that made him appalling to narrate from. Imam Dahabi wrote a book called The Balance of Moderation in Criticizing Men. In it, he collects vital information on Ikrima that we can use to gauge what people thought of him. Wahib said, "I witnessed Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Ansari and Ayub. So they mentioned Ikrima, and Yahya said, he is a liar." Ibrahim bin al-Mundhir, Hisham bin Abdullah al-Makhzumi told us, "I heard Ibn Abi Dhi'ab say, I saw Ikrima, and he was not trustworthy." Mutarrif bin Abdullah said that Imam Malik hated mentioning Ikrima, and he did not think it should be narrated from him. Khalid ibn Abi Imran said, "We were in Morocco and we had an Ikrima at the season, and he said, I wished I had a spear in my hand." Ibn al-Madini, on the authority of Yaqub al-Hadrami, on the authority of Hadda, objected to it from those who witnessed the season, right and left, who said about Ikrima. Ikrima stood at the door of the mosque and said, "There is nothing in it except an infidel." He said he was of the opinion of the Ibadis. Musab al-Zubayri said that Ikrima used to see the views of the Karajites, so the governor of Medina asked for him, and he disappeared with Dawood bin al-Hussein until he died with him. On the authority of Ibn al-Musayyab, he said to his master bird, "Do not lie to me as Ikrima lied."
According to Dahabi, it seems as Ikrima may not be a reliable transmitter. Ayub transmits from him, so he may have somewhat of a decent reputation, but the fact that Malik and Muslim refuse to narrate much of anything from him is telling us that they view these allegations as damning enough to not take him seriously. If we specifically look at Imam Malik's Muwatta, we notice that a similar command of executing apostates is given, but not from Ikrima. Let's investigate it.
The Prophet allegedly told Zayd ibn Aslam, who told Imam Malik, who told his student Yahya, if someone changes his deen, strike his neck. There seems to be no doubt that Malik received this narration, and Yahya received it from Malik. But did Zayd truly get this from the Prophet? Let's look into the biography of Zayd to see if there is any incentive to have such a narration attributed to the Prophet. Ibn Sa'd records 3 key details about Zayd. The first being that he was an Ansari, someone that joined the Prophet in Medina to be a part of his religious and political community. The second is that he fought in the battles of Badr and Uhud, key battles that led to the expansion of the Prophet's empire, and are both mentioned within the Quran. The final detail is that he fought within the Ridda Wars under the rule of Abu Bakr, specifically going after a false prophet named Tulayha. Zayd ibn Aslam, a companion of Prophet Muhammad from the Ansar tribe, demonstrated valor in battles like Badr and Uhud. However, he faced controversy for fabricating a narration promoting the execution of apostates. His motives likely stemmed from a desire to maintain unity amidst political turmoil, such as during Abu Bakr's caliphate. Zayd's martyrdom fighting rebels like Tulayha highlights his commitment to Islam, yet his involvement in fabricating such a severe decree raises questions about loyalty and political expediency in early Islamic history.
Earlier we brought up 4 reasons as to why the apostasy hadith holds no weight. The first was the objective of the Ridda Wars. We learned that Abu Bakr never gave any order to execute apostates, so if the apostasy hadith was really transmitted from the Prophet, Abu Bakr would have done so and ordered it. He didn't, leading us to believe that this hadith came about after the Ridda Wars. The second point was the lack of attestation. Out of all of the students of Ibn Abbas, Ikrima is the only student to narrate this order. which made it highly suspicious because if Ibn Abbas truly gave this hadith to his students, multiple students would have reported it considering it was an important matter of jurisprudential law. The third point was the credibility of the narrators. When we look at records of who ʿIkrima was, we find out that two of the most important hadith compilers rejected his testimony of hadith, with some reports claiming him to be a part of an early violent sect of Islam. Looking at Zayd as well, we see that he also had motivation to fabricate considering he fought these apostates firsthand during the Ridda Wars. The last point is this hadith contradicting the Quran. Exempted are those who join people with whom you have signed a peace treaty, and those who come to you wishing not to fight you, nor fight their relatives. Had God willed, he could have permitted them to fight against you. Therefore, if they leave you alone, refrain from fighting you, and offer you peace, then God gives you no excuse to fight them. Had your Lord willed, all the people on earth would have believed. Do you want to force the people to become believers? No soul can believe except in accordance with God's will, for he places a curse upon those who refuse to understand. Proclaim this is the truth from your Lord, then whoever wills let him believe, and whoever wills let him disbelieve. We have prepared for the transgressors a fire that will completely surround them. When they scream for help, they will be given a liquid like concentrated acid that scalds the faces. What a miserable drink! What a miserable destiny! You shall remind, for your mission is to deliver this reminder. You have no power over them. The Quran is clear. Those who disbelieve have the right to disbelieve, despite the horrible recompense in the hereafter. Surah 2 verse 256 states that there is no compulsion in religion. When someone who wants to leave the religion is faced with execution if they attempt to leave, then they are compelled to stick to a faith they don't believe in. This violates 1829, which states whoever wills let him disbelieve. These narrations not only go against the Quranic narrative of allowing disbelievers or apostates to continue in their disbelief. If anything, Surah 88 verse 22 makes it clear that the Prophet had no power over them. His only mission was to deliver the message. If someone wanted to disbelieve after hearing the message, or disbelieve after they had accepted the message, it's their right to do so despite the punishment in the hereafter. These narrations of apostasy were fabricated after the Ridda Wars during the time of Abu Bakr. In the case of Zayd, he had incentive to fabricate these narrations considering he was in the midst of fighting apostates during Abu Bakr's rule. Ikrima was known to be untrustworthy and was accused of holding violent beliefs of an early Islamic sect. The law of apostasy violates Quranic principles, but despite this, it seems that traditionalist Muslims are adamant in retaining them within their Muslim state. That's going to be the end of the video. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you wish to continue with analysis like this. There are more apostasy narrations out there that I plan to go into that come from a different context, so this episode isn't an end to this subject. Join us on the Discord server where research, debates, discussions, and Quran recitations and studies are held almost 24 hours a day. Come talk to like-minded individuals. Peace be upon you all.